Hello and welcome back. My name is Juditha, and on this channel we talk about all things mindset. We talk about your goals, we talk about your fears, your insecurities, all those things that come up when you're trying to create your dream life, because I'm doing the same thing. So I'm just helping you guys along the way, giving you the tips and tricks that have worked and are working for me. Okay, with that being said, today we are going to talk about a topic that I think is going to be very helpful to a lot of you, because as a coach, I've spoken to a lot of women. I've had a lot of phone calls where the main problem is always, money issues. I'm broke. So this video is not going to be about helping you make $10,000, but what it is going to be about is helping you find a way to be financially stable right now. Okay, and to me, financial stability just means like you're able to pay your bills, you're not stressed. I am going to explain how you can use your mind and shift your mindset so that you learn how to think more abundantly, because when you're thinking more abundantly, you allow for abundance to come into your life. So that's what this video is going to be about. So it's going to help you get to a place where you're not quite yet, like your biggest dreams aren't quite yet like fulfilled. However, you are in a state where you don't have to worry about money. You don't have to stress, like, because you know how to manage your mind, and you understand that if this is a problem, if finances are a problem, then the only solution is you have to come up with it. You have to get out of your comfort zone to figure out exactly how you're going to move past this point into your life so you can get to a place where you're comfortable, right? Because creating your dream life is so much easier when you have a good like base to start from. Like when you're in a place where, yeah, I want more money, but I'm not tight. Like it's okay. I know I'm going to be able to pay my bills today. I know I'm going to be able to eat tomorrow, right? So that's what this video is really about. The first thing I want you to understand is that abundance is not something that you have to create. It's something that you just have to let in, okay? And I heard this on a video. I don't remember who exactly said it, but I heard this and I was just like, damn, like it just clicked for me. It made so much sense, right? And what I got from that statement is that abundance exists already, like naturally. It's your birthright. When you come into this world, if you wish for it, it can be given to you. The problem is that we have been conditioned to not see life as being that easy. Like we have not been conditioned to think that abundance is our birthright. It's something that happens naturally. And when you experience lack, when you experience not having enough of money, of time, of whatever it is, whatever you feel like you lack, when you are experiencing that, it's because you are cutting it off by the thoughts you're thinking, by what you're believing, and just overall by your actions and the life that you're living. Like as you grow, you are going to develop these beliefs, and some of your beliefs help you and some of them don't, right? Like if you have a belief that money don't grow on trees, if you have a belief that you have to work hard for money, or that it's hard to come by, or that it's hard to keep, any of those beliefs that you have is literally cutting off your circulation to the abundance that's already available to you. You just have to open your eyes to it. Another thing I want you to keep in mind is that abundance can come disguised as many things. So what do I mean by this? What I mean is you might be wishing for $10,000, $100,000. You might be wishing for money in the, or abundance in that type of form, in that physical form, right? And you might be so laser focused on receiving abundance in that way that you miss all the other ways where you are abundant. Abundance can literally come disguised as people helping you do certain things. It could come disguised as like money that you find on the ground. It can come disguised as opportunities from just networking. So just pay attention to the different ways that abundance shows up for you. That is not just monetary, that is not just a whole bunch of money in your account. So I want to help you understand that you can attract or repel abundance based on your mindset. And I'm going to convince you of this by telling you a little bit about my story and a little bit about how I feel like I was finally able to allow abundance into my life. And I'm telling you this even without having like all the money that I want in my account. Like I would love to have 10K months, but I'm not there yet. However, where I am is I'm very comfortable. I can afford to live. I can afford to eat. I can afford to travel. I can afford to still like do things that make me feel good and make me feel happy. And I wasn't always like this. Like I was not always in a place where I was stress free and money wasn't like the number one thing I woke up thinking about. Like that wasn't always my reality. And and I'm going to tell you how I feel or how I believe that I got to this point where I'm comfortable. And a lot of this message is going to be directed towards aspiring entrepreneurs because I feel like that's who I tend to work with and who I tend to attract a lot. Like my content or when I'm attracting clients, those are the type of women and people in general that I tend to speak with, because I feel like as aspiring entrepreneurs or existing entrepreneurs, when you are broke but you're trying to like start a business, there's so much pressure for your business to make money, right? And I feel like it's so much easier to start a business or to build a business when you are not so stressed out about money, about paying your bills, because you know that you have like some sort of stable income, or you have some type of way to actually take care of yourself even while you're building this business. So that's why this topic is also like very important. So the big question, how do you not focus on your brokenness? The first thing, like when I work with clients, the first thing I say is, if money is the number one issue, if that is the thing that is stressing you out, if that is the thing that's stopping you from doing a lot of the things that you want to do, then we need to figure out how can we solve for this problem, right? We need to figure out exactly what can you do or do less of to solve for the problem of money, money scarcity. So maybe that's finding a new job. Maybe it's finding another job, so you work two jobs, right? Maybe it's learning a new skill, right? Maybe it's actually taking yourself seriously online in some way. I don't know what the answer is. Okay, it's your job to figure it out. But if you open your mind to, you know what, there is a way for me to figure this out. Like I say in all of my videos, you have to feed your brain the information it needs to give you the answer you need. So if you need more money, if you need some financial stability right now, then you have to believe that there is some sort of opportunity out there that is just for you, that is waiting just for you to be able to fill that void in your life. And the only way that you're going to discover it is by going out there, getting out of your comfort zone and trying to figure it out. And you have to keep in mind that you might have to do things that you don't really want to do in the beginning, right? And to me, it's just a matter of, do you care more about staying exactly where you are in the comfort of chaos, or would you rather have a peace of mind, right? And for me, I had to make the same choice. Like when I was stressed out, this was years ago when I was in college, especially, right? When I was in college, I did have a job, I was going to school, but I was always stressed out about money. Like I was always stressed out because, girl, like I live in Miami, it's not that cheap here. So that was a big deal for me. Like I literally can remember getting emotional about it. I can remember crying to my boyfriend about it, but that was just my reality at the time. And as I started to like really become more spiritual, as I started to really learn more about myself and the universe and the world, and I just started to take responsibility for where I was, I literally sat down and I wrote out my problem. I was like, my problem is money. And then I asked myself, like, what am I doing to solve this problem? Because a lot of us, we think that we're doing everything that we can to solve the problem, but sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're just doing what you're comfortable with, and you're not actually doing, there's probably other things that you could do that just don't make you feel as comfortable, like to make that choice. Like it'll take you into discomfort, it'll take you into something new, and you just don't want to do it. So I had to be honest with myself. I'm like, listen, are you doing everything that you could possibly be doing to make more money or to spend less money? So I just made a list. I was like, I'm already working. I'm not getting another job, right? That's another thing. Be honest with yourself about what you are or aren't willing to do, right? Because then it's your fault. Like it's your responsibility. If there's something that you're not willing to do to get you out of the position that you're in, at least you're making a conscious choice. Like, so I made the conscious choice that I'm not getting a second job. Like, I don't care. It was just out of the question. I'm a student already. Like, these classes are already too much. I'm not getting a second job. So that was out the window for me. So then I was like, okay, well, obviously I need to spend less. So then I started looking, how can I spend less? What is my biggest expense? And at that time, my biggest expense was rent. Like paying rent would literally put me on zero. Like that was the most stressful thing. I feel like my other bills weren't even that much. It was really just paying rent. So then I asked myself, well, what can I do? Because I already said I'm not getting a second job. And at that time when I was in college, I wasn't entrepreneurial minded like I am now. So there was no thought in my mind to like start a business, to learn a new skill. My options were, okay, you need to figure out a way to either have your rent lowered or have this expense completely be removed from your budget altogether. So I had to make the decision, well, how can I fix this problem of rent being too much? And my only solution at that time was I moved back home with my mom. Right? My mom stayed like 45 minutes for me, and I was just like, you know what? I didn't want to, and it took me some time, like I don't even know, a few months to really come to the conclusion that, you know what, I have to do this, right? And it wasn't just me, because I was living with my best friend at the time, and like we do everything together. So if I was moving, she was moving, right? So I had to ask my mom. I'm like, hey ma, I need to come home. Mariana's coming with me. Can we come home? And my mom, being who she is, like if you have Caribbean parents, like my mom was like, absolutely. She loves her kids being around her, and she was like, absolutely, come home. And my mom is the type of person, like she will make us feel as comfortable as possible. Like even though her house at the time wasn't even that big, like she made us feel as comfortable as possible. And I think for the first few months of us living there, we didn't even have our own room. Like we had to share a room. Good thing my mom had like a king bed, so we had to share a room with her. And that's a sacrifice I made, right? And in the moment when I made a decision, it didn't feel good. Like I didn't want to go home. I didn't want to live with my mom again. I didn't. But after I made that decision, after I moved in with her, and after I saw that, you know what, this actually isn't as bad as I thought. Like all of those things came together, and then in hindsight, I could see that this was actually the best decision I could have made, not only for me, but for my friend as well. Like this was the best thing that we could have done for ourselves. Another thing that I did was I started to look for jobs. Like I just started to apply because I moved to a new area. So obviously I needed to find work. And I was still going to school. So I looked for a job, and I'm the type of person, like I don't stay at jobs that don't satisfy me, like jobs that get on my nerves, jobs that are stressing me out. Like I'm just not the type of person to stay at a job that I feel like it isn't worth my energy. So I went through a few jobs until I found one that I was like, okay, I can chill here. And it ended up being like such a good opportunity, because I literally had, if I really wanted to, I could make up to like $1,000 a week working at that job. And I didn't have to do much. It was a private restaurant. And because it was private and it was only open to the residents of the community, like it just operated differently. And up until that point, I had worked in many different restaurants, and this was my first time working at somewhere private. So it was a different experience, and like I don't know, it was just different, and I felt like lucky to have it. And I have no idea how I came across it. It was the highest paying hosting job I've had since moving here. So do you see what I mean? How when you start to take steps, like you'll when you start to take steps and recognize the abundance that is already around you, opportunities start to present themselves. They start to open up, right? Because like I said, I just saw this job, I think online, and it was like I said, the highest paying hostess job I had ever worked up until that point. So I worked that job for a while, and then after working that job, sometime like right before COVID, I ended up applying for another job because I was getting tired of the job I was currently at. Like I said, once I get tired, like I'm out of there. And my best friend had just applied to this same job, and she was like, you know, you should apply too. So then I ended up applying, and I got the job. And then as I got the job, like that's when COVID hit and all restaurants shut down, right? And remind you, I was working at a restaurant, and most of the people that went to that restaurant were older people who were like very much at risk. So that restaurant shut down, and I happened to get a job literally a couple months right before all of that hit the fan. So that to me was another like example of like how the universe was working with me and supporting me and pushing me into the abundance that was already available to me, right? Because then I got the job, and it started out in office, but like I said, because of COVID, when everything changed, they moved us to remote, and now I work remote. Like ever since COVID, I've been working remote, and I have not had to like leave my house for anything. Like I can't even imagine working a job where I have to go into an office or into any type of building. Like it's not happening. So I say all this to say that I started to look for the abundance that was already available to me. And like I said, I didn't look for it in, well, damn, let me see if $10,000 hit my account today. Like it wasn't in that way. It was in small little ways, right? Like moving back home, so I have to spend less. Finding a job that paid me a good amount, and then finding another one that not only paid me good, but allowed me to work from home so that I can work on my business as I'm working this job, right? And I think all of that is just a result of me focusing my mind on what was already available to me, and focusing focusing my mind on the solutions to my problems, right? Like I said, I took 100% responsibility of what was happening, and I started to make choices that would change how I felt about how I was feeling about my financial situation, how I was feeling about my life in general. And not to say that I didn't have moments where I still like doubted, where I still wished that I had more, where I still like struggled a little bit, because those moments still existed. But predominantly, who I predominantly was, my mindset was shifting to that abundance. And every time I forgot, I would remind myself. Oh, another thing I want to tell you guys is like during this period of time, like little things happened to me, right? Like I received a deposit from a job that I had not worked since high school, okay? At this point, I'm in my senior year of college, so I had not worked that job in 4+ years, and I got a deposit of money from there, okay? Randomly on a random day, I woke up and I was like, okay, thank you. And another thing that happened to me was my mom offering to buy my groceries for the month. Like, it's just little things like that can happen to you, and you just have to be aware. Like, put on the lens of this is abundance too. Like, this is the universe also showing me just how much help I have around me, and it might not come in the way that I think it will come. So keep your eyes open for that too, because a lot of your abundance might come through the people that are around you. Okay, so if I were you, here's exactly what I would do to get from a place of worry, of stress about your financial responsibilities, to a place where you feel just like a little bit more stable. And like I said, the first thing that I feel like you need to do is put on the lens that abundance isn't something that you have to create. It's something that you just have to let in. And you let it in by first believing that it's possible. You have to believe that there is so many resources out there for you to help you wherever you are. So you need to open your mind to that, because I'm telling you, like, that's what happened to me. Like, I may not have made 10,000 or thousands of dollars. However, I was abundant in so many other ways, and all of those little opportunities led me to bigger opportunities. So open your eyes to that. Follow the breadcrumbs. The second thing is to make sure you are focused on the solutions to your problems, because if you are just the type of person who you are spinning around and around in your financial distress, you're spinning around and around in how much you don't have or how far you are from your goals, none of that is going to solve your problem. None of that is going to bring your goals closer to you. And this, it's an obvious thing. It's obvious. Stress does not help you. It does not move you any further along. Okay, you actually do your worst thinking when you are stressed, because when your emotions are high like that, then your intelligence is automatically low. Okay, so you have to realize that stress isn't going to help you solve these problems. So you need to stop focusing on the problem themselves and focus on the solutions. Focus on maybe something that you weren't willing to do a year ago, but because you're still in this position, you are willing to do it now. Okay? Make some decisions. They might be hard. And if you feel like they are hard, don't worry. Eventually, you will be able to change your perspective about what hard really is, okay? Because to me, it was hard to move back home. But once I experienced the ease of paying for like my bills, because I no longer had this rent that was taking everything from me, like I would not give that up for anything, and I would not go back and change anything, right? So you have to kind of think about it like that. You won't be able to see all the good that those hard decisions are going to do for you in the moment because you don't want to do it. But trust me when I say hindsight is a beautiful thing, because eventually you're going to be able to look back on every decision you feel like you had to make in the moment that was hard, and when it pays off, you're not going to regret it for 1 second, because you just have to do what you have to do in this moment. So remember that as well. So just be willing to get uncomfortable. I promise it probably will not even be as bad as you think it would be. Okay, now the next thing that you should do is work on you. Like, that was another thing that I was doing throughout this whole process. I became obsessed with becoming the best version of myself. And you can take that however you want. But all I'm saying is I focused on learning about who I really was when it comes to my spirituality, when it comes to just even me as an actual human being, like just learning how the brain works, learning how our emotions work. And I also learned a lot about this world. I really dove into what spirituality meant to me. I started to learn about what it is I wanted to believe in, the higher power that I believed in. And I started to really live by that. Like I started to think like, okay, if I am not doing this alone, if there is a power that's higher, that is looking over me, that's working in my favor, then why am I so worried, right? But the only way you get to that point is by learning. You have to feed your brain all of that information so that when you're stressed, when you're worried, your brain can direct you to these solutions like, hey, you can relax. Remember, there's a higher power working for you. Or you can relax. Remember, abundance is going to come. You just have to let it in, right? And you get to that point by feeding your brain the information it needs. So go on a self-development journey if you're not on one already. Like really discover who you are and discover like the magic that exists all around you and that's in you already. The fifth thing, and I already kind of touched on this, but you need to believe in a higher power. I personally just don't know how to exist without believing in God, without believing in the universe. Like I personally could not create my dream life if I don't believe in a higher power. So I would recommend that same thing to you. Like you need to believe in a higher power. Dig deep because you're not doing this alone and it feels so much better and it's easier to stress less when you actually believe that you're not doing this alone and you believe that the universe will move mountains to make sure that you're straight. But in order for you to see the good and experience all the good that can happen to you, you have to believe in it first. Which leads me into my final point. You have to believe in the good that can come to you. And something that I really, really want to touch on as well is that you cannot allow the state of the country you're in to determine how abundant you can be, right? Like if you live in the US and your excuse is that we're going through a recession, like you can't use that as an excuse. Like it doesn't matter where you live. You cannot allow the state of the country to determine the state of your abundance. Because if you believe that you are limited because of that, then you will be, right? I really want to emphasize that whatever you believe is true about yourself or about the world around you is exactly how you're going to experience life, okay? It might not be you, but trust me when I say there is someone in the country where you live, in the state where you live, that is experiencing abundance because they're not thinking like you, right? Because they are committing to solutions more than they are committed to the excuses and the problems that they have. And you just have to embody that as well. But trust me, don't use that as an excuse because I'm sure you know of somebody or some successful person that came from where you came from or that was born in a similar life circumstances that you were born in and they made it out. So remember that as well. And actually that's a bonus tip. Study the lives of the people who you aspire to be like. Study how people who have come from nothing created a life where they have everything, because then that helps you to believe more in the possibility that you can do it too. Okay. One more thing that I want to say is the reason why I wouldn't say, oh, you're broke, go start a business, like go try to make money that way. The reason why I won't say that is because I feel like when you start a business from a place of like, I already lack so much and I'm already stressed out financially, you put so much pressure on your new business to make you money. And it's just not fair because you have to treat your new business like a baby and you would not expect your baby to make you money. So you just can't expect your new business to make you the money and to fill in the stress. You have to create that ahead of time, or you don't have to, but to me, I just think it's easier if you do, right? Because I've thought about this and in my opinion, two things can happen when you try to build a business from a place of scarcity, like from a place of I don't have enough money, I don't have enough of this. Like two things can happen. The first thing is you're the type of person where you already have the mindset that I'm not going to get a job. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to grind every day, every night. I'm not going to take a break. And within months, because you put in so much work, because you have the mindset, the discipline to work your ass to death, like you succeed eventually and you start to reap those rewards. I feel like that's possible. I don't want to say to you and, take away that it's not a possibility that you could be broke and start a business and then be successful. But if you are willing to be broke, then you have to accept that you are making the choice to be broke while you are creating a business. So to me, it's kind of like contradictory to stress about being broke when you've made that decision, because the second option, right? I said there's two things that happens. The second thing that happens when you try to create a business from brokenness, and this is what usually happens, right? Is that you want your business to make you money as soon as possible, right? So you try a whole bunch of different things. Sometimes you lack discipline. So there's days where you don't do anything, right? And then all of a sudden you start to feel bad because it's not working fast enough. You start to feel unmotivated, right? You start to feel like this isn't working, and then you give up. Okay, and you give up because you are not making money as fast as you would need to make money to feel comfortable, right? And that's why I say handle that ahead of time. Get to a comfortable place first and then start to build your business. Okay, find that 9 to 5 if you have to. Like, whatever it is that you need to do to try to find a place of comfort before you build your business, like, that's always going to be my recommendation. Okay, that is it for today. That's the last thing I'm going to leave you with. Just remember that abundance, like, you don't have to create it. It's already there. You just have to let it in. Okay, I hope you bloom today because I know I did, and I will see you guys on the next one.